people out there in the dark. Thank you again so much for checking in. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about Bela Lugosi. Yes, that Bela Lugosi, the famous actor of horror films from the 30s and 40s. What's that, Sancho? No, his name's not Bela Lugosi. Yeah, I'm sure. It's Bela. No, Sancho, you ignorant wretch. There's not two L's. It's not Bella. It's Bela. Yes, I'm positive. No, I know that's how most people say it, but most people don't say a lot of things correctly. They don't do their own investigations to figure things out. Trust me, it's Bela Lugosi. All right, yeah, thanks, buddy. Anyway, where was I? So Bela Lugosi. Turns out that Mr. Lugosi actually owned a couple of houses here in Lake Elsinore in the mid-40s through the mid-50s. And his son actually went to a Naval Academy here during that time, as well as some other children of famous people, back when Elsinore was actually a resort destination. Shocking but true. But anyway, I digress. So Bela Lugosi, born October of 1882, and he died, I believe, August of 1956. So he was about 73 years old, which would make him, today, 138 at the recording of this vlog. 138 years old. Now, Lugosi wasn't his actual last name. He took that from the town Lugos, his hometown of Hungary, where he was born. And his real name was actually Bela, I'm going to butcher this, which is sad since I just gave Sancho crap, but Bela Ferenc Dezo, I believe. And, he changed his stage name to Lugosi. But Lugosi actually served in the Austro-Hungary army during World War I. He was in the infantry. He was wounded, but I believe he achieved the rank of lieutenant. But those wounds, I think, would haunt him throughout his life. We're all certainly well versed on his addiction to painkillers, morphine, and methadone. It's outlined in a lot of documentaries. It's also in the Tim Burton movie Ed Wood, a great movie, by the way. Martin Landau does an Oscar-winning performance, if memory serves, of Mr. Lugosi. But anyway, he comes back, 1914 from the war. His very first film was in Hungary in 1917. And throughout his life, he actually did 113 films and shorts, 23 of which were Hungarian or German. And he did over 200 stage productions. Ultimately, he had to flee Hungary, I'm sure for political reasons at that time. That would have been just after the war, 1919, 1920. Made his way to America. Now, the Bram Stoker's book, Dracula, right here. I actually have a copy of my book from when I had to read in high school, which I believe is like 1983. Well, here, take a look. I'll show you. So anyway, Bram Stoker writes this novel in 1897 and sort of establishes the character of Dracula. Now, what's interesting is at least to me, Lugosi plays Dracula on stage in 1927, and ultimately he plays it in the movie in 1931 for Universal Pictures. But the description of Dracula, how he's described in the book, is much different than the Count Dracula that we all know today, that we owe a great gratitude to Mr. Lugosi for, because he sort of established, quite frankly, vampires as we know them today. But the original description, and I'm reading straight from the book, chapter 2, this is when Harker is come. I don't know how familiar you are with the book. If you haven't read it, go get the book and read it. It's quite good. But Jonathan Harker has come to Count Dracula's home, and upon meeting, he's basically coming in, and he says, within stood a tall old man, clean shaven, save for a long white mustache, and clad in black from head to foot, without a single speck of color about him anywhere. He held his hand, well, I won't read all of it, but it's interesting that they note a mustache, which obviously Bela Lugosi did not have. And he talks about how his hands are cold and feel like a dead hand, etc., etc. But Lugosi plays Dracula, 1931, and actually he's only played him twice. Obviously in the original movie Dracula, and then he plays him again in 1948 in Abbott and Costello's Meets Frankenstein, which quite frankly has always kind of made me nutso, because Frankenstein is the doctor, the monster is the monster, and that's who's in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Again, this is part of the whole Bela thing. It's Frankenstein's monster. The title should be Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein's Monster, but I digress. And anyway, what's interesting too is Bram Stoker died in 1912 before ever seeing his book brought to life either on stage or screen. Kind of sad, I guess. But anyway, he creates Dracula, only plays him 2 times, and please note, neither of those times does he have fangs. Though the book talks about canine teeth, so some sort of decision. But at any rate, he rises to some fame, and ultimately his drug addictions get the better of him. He stars in a number of horror films, and his career kind of grinds to a halt with Mr. Ed Wood. But interestingly enough, he's one of the first guys that actually went into drug rehab, though back then they didn't have drug rehabs. He actually went to a sanitarium to get clean and actually tried to document that. And I think by the time he got out, he actually passed away a month or so later, I think of a heart attack. Just the drugs and the smoking and the drinking, that stuff tends to catch up to you. But during the peak of his career, in those 30s and 40s, he actually lived in 2 homes here in Lake Elsinore, some vacation homes. And he actually developed a lakeside subdivision that he was calling Lugosi Park. Now, over the years, and I think this happened even before his death, the subdivision has been cut up and sold off, and it doesn't exist in the way we would think it would. But 2 things that do remain are Lillian Avenue and Arch Way. And Lillian Arch was his 4th wife and the mother to Bela Lugosi Jr., who went to the Elsinore Naval Academy. It was just up the road from these homes. Interestingly, Lugosi actually lived in 27 residences over the course of his life, mostly in New York and California, and as I just noted, 2 of them were here in Lake Elsinore. So I think what we're going to do is we'll head out. I just want to kind of show you the houses. I've not been there to see them. I'm sure they don't look anything like they did during that time period. But we'll also go by the now defunct Academy, which incidentally, it was originally built and it was going to be called the Southern California Athletic Country Club or Sports Club. It never really opened. It had some financial problems and the Depression hit, which pretty much wiped it out. But it was supposed to originally be like 200 acres with golf courses and horse riding. They were going to have a garage built that would house 100 cars, which at that time would have been, just an incredible feat. Not everybody had cars. Clearly a playground for the rich. As I previously said, Elsinore used to be sort of a resort or destination for Hollywood during that time period, the 30s and early 40s. They used to race boats on the lake, just like just north of Elsinore was Corona, where they used to do car races. And Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball actually had a ranch in Corona off of what's now Lincoln for years and years and years. But anyway, so the Southern California Athletic Country Club gets built. It's opulent, but because of mismanagement and the Depression, it basically goes away. And at some point, just as we're coming out of the Depression, like 1933, it becomes what's known as the Elsinore Naval Academy. Not Lake Elsinore, just Elsinore. The name Lake wasn't added to the city until I think the 70s at some point. So the Elsinore Naval Academy, and it eventually closed in 1977. But during that time period, Lugosi's son, Bela Lugosi Jr., attended the Naval Academy / school, as well as several other famous people's sons. But like I said, it closed in the 70s, and you know what? It never really, it started to decay, and it's been decaying for the last 50-something years. I think it's in private hands now, and I believe it's on the registry, so it can't be knocked down. I think it last sold for like $10 million, and it's been reduced down to 10 acres. But we'll drive by and we'll try to get as close as we can to kind of show you what it looks like. And I've actually got a couple of photos. I believe I'll show you. Here's what it looks like now, and here's what it looked like then. It kind of had its peak, interestingly enough, in the 40s, probably due to World War II. A lot of kids ended up going there. Again, like I said, Lugosi Jr. went, and some other folks. One other thing to note, he was immortalized, Bela Lugosi was, by the U.S. Post Office in 1997. Well, all the Universal monsters were, but there is Mr. Lugosi as Count Dracula. And here's a couple of pictures. Take a look at these series of pictures. A couple are of Lugosi as the Count, and a couple of pictures, I think, of just Mr. Lugosi. But like I said, I just thought it'd be kind of fun. We could take a drive out and just take a look at these three structures and see what they look like today. Okay, so we are making our way to the former summer homes, as I mentioned, of Bela Lugosi. These were homes that he lived in the mid 40s through the mid 50s, and we're going to check out the subdivision that he created, or started to create and sold. We should be there shortly. So we're working our way towards one of Bela's summer homes. This one would have been built around 1946. You can see how close it is to the lake. We're turning here on Avondale. It's actually right here on the corner. So here we are on Avondale Way. This is actually one of the summer homes for Bela Lugosi. See how close it is to the lake. Home was built around 1946. See how close he is to the lake. It is a crisp morning. Quite pretty, actually. Sort of a backside to his home. You can see that fireplace is probably one of the few things that are still original. Again, you can see single car garage. Certainly fits the period. Another beautiful shot of the beach here at Lake Elsinore. Okay, let's go take a look at his next residence. So this is the first summer home of Bela Lugosi. This home was built in, I think, 1933 or 1935. But this is where he vacationed. Kind of a nice little cottage. Again, you can see in the background, right along the lake. I think it's pretty cool. Don't want to disturb the current residents, but I'm willing to bet that little well out in front has been there a very, very long time. One last look at Bela's home here in Lake Elsinore. From, I'm guessing this one was from the 40s, since it was built in the 30s, and the other one was a second home that came along later in life. So here we are at the Lugosi subdivision that his master plan that never came to be. As I mentioned earlier, it had been sold several times and broken up into who knows what. And all that sort of remains of that original idea are the two street names, Lillian and Arch, which were named after his fourth wife, Lillian Arch, Arch being her maiden name. So I thought I would just sort of drive through and I'll try to show you the street signs. You can see the lake there in the distance. I'm going to say most of these homes were built in the mid to late 70s, maybe early 80s. This here is Archway. I'll capture the street sign here for you. Okay, there's the street sign. We're getting ready to turn right on Lillian Road. But as you can see, Lillian Road and Archway. Pretty cool. So we have arrived at the Elsinore, the Naval Academy. As I noted earlier, it's basically been closed since 1977 or so, and is sat basically vacant. There was a massive fire, I think, in the late 70s too, that did a lot of damage to the inside of this building. Excuse me. But this is where Bela Jr. went to school. Oh, looks like it actually is for sale again. So I stand corrected. You must have it split in a couple of different parcels up to 20 acres. Let's see if I can get a little closer here. But I think it gives you a little bit of an idea. There are some other YouTube videos out there, I'm sure, that covered this extensively. I just wanted to show it to you briefly. It would be a lot of fun to restore and turn into a hotel or something of that nature, but quite honestly, there's no reason to stay here in Lake Elsinore. I guess there was much more in Mr. Lugosi's time, but today, not so much. Here's kind of a shot of the main entrance, I guess. Kind of shooting through the wire of the chain link fence here. I hope they don't knock it down. I hope it is actually on the registry. I hope someone who's wealthy can purchase it. Here's another shot. Again, in its day, I think it was probably a majestic building, very, very beautiful. So here's the back side of the school. Again, just an amazing piece of property that butts right up to the lake. Not sure what the hay is for, but hey, there it is. Another view of the Naval Academy. This is the back side. See if I can zoom in again. I apologize for the chain link fence, but that's a pretty cool chimney right there. See if I can get it to focus. Probably not going to be able to get it to see here. There you go. That's one cool chimney. More of the back side of the school. Again, not the wealthiest section of Lake Elsinore, but butts up against the water and the beautiful mountains. Well, there you go. There's a phone number if you're interested in buying it, if you happen to watch this and you're wealthy. So one interesting thing to note, Bela Lugosi, when he first came to America, he didn't speak a lick of English. And in his plays, in order to obviously get hired to perform in them, he had to memorize all of his lines. And he did that by basically learning them phonetically, which is one of the reasons why he has such a unique speaking voice. Not to mention he's Hungarian, and that's, ooh, a dime. Got a dime. Not to mention he's Hungarian, and that is an accent that is easy to do. Count Dracula, very difficult, I think, to lose. But it served him well, I think, on some level, and didn't on others, because he always ended up playing bad guys during the 40s, which was the time of the Red Scare, and a lot of people were weary of foreigners with accents. But anyway, in this world, when you could be anything you want, you'd be kind, you'd be humble, you'd be forgiving, and you'd be melting snow. Take care.